Hello and welcome to another stream. I'm Dan, your friendly fishmonger, welcoming you to our weekly live stream. We do this every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Mountain Time. That's 9 Eastern for those that don't know where the mountains are. Asking if someone could let me know if the audio's okay. And while we're waiting for that to happen, I'm going to get into the shipping report, give you some updates on an import that I'm working on, and we'll go from there. So every week I tell you guys how shipping went, and as far as I recall, I don't recall any problems. I think shipping went okay. I think everyone arrived alive and in good shape. There was one person who got a group of Ricefish. Audio is good, says Kelly Foreman. All awesome. And Bad Hombre and Tasty Fish Sauce and others. Okay, great. There was one little disappointment, which is a customer purchased 10 Miyuki Ricefish. And so I packed up 10 and sent them to him. And it turned out that 9 were males. He reported that he only got 1 female. So that's a little disappointing. Usually when you're sending 10 fish to someone in a randomly selected sample, I get them in the net and I do a quick health check, but I don't really sex them unless someone's like, I really want to breed these, please make sure, but there was no note about sexing or anything on the order. So I was like, there's 10, they'll get a mix. Looked for health, put them in the bags. Turns out 9 out of 10 were male. So the odds of that are very low, but that is one little disappointing thing that happened. It's not a health thing. Everything arrived alive and in good shape. It's just that it was a strange sex ratio scenario. Apart from that, I'm trying to think if there were any issues. I think one box was delayed. I got an email today that one box arrived this morning instead of yesterday. So that's a little disappointing. And I have not heard back, I don't think, from that customer yet. So hopefully they still arrived alive and in good shape. They should. They're packed to withstand several days in transit, just so that when there is an issue, the fish are still taken care of. But so a couple little hiccups, but no like health stuff, no like arrived in horrible shape type stuff. So everything's going okay on the shipping front, even with all the cold. It really is just a matter of make sure your boxes are well insulated and make sure that you have enough heat packs to keep them warm, and use a shipping service which is quick. That's why we do next day delivery here at Dan's Fish. So did USPS priority for many years and have nothing against it, and nothing against anyone that ships that way. But I just feel a little more secure shipping next day. So, yep, it's been going pretty well. I haven't calculated the average so far for this year, but I think we're probably ahead of our average for 2020, which was, last I calculated, like 99.62% of the fish arrived alive and did well. And I haven't calculated it for this year, but I think it's 100% so far, if I remember right, or was there one issue? Anyway, I'll have to dig in and calculate that average, but yeah, it's going pretty well. Have some news about the import. I'm working with Nigeria to get another import in from them, and it appears to be going well and making progress. We don't know for sure until we actually get the airway bill, and then really we don't know for sure until the fish actually arrive. But it appears that that's in progress and going to happen. So my hope is it happens pretty soon. I have in the meantime done like a mini order. Hopefully get some gold denison barbs in since everybody wants them. Hopefully get some more orange Venezuelan corridors in since everybody wants those. Some Barbatus cories, or Scleromastyx really is the genus name. Scleromastyx barbatus. That's a neat fish. It's the biggest of all the cory type fish. They get 4.5 inches, something like that. A nice big, little more ornery than your average cory. Males are kind of competitive, but really neat fish. And there was one more thing I had on there. that I can't remember. Pygmy quarries. Yeah, some more pygmy quarries. So just a little mini thing to tide over some of the most, the things that most people are asking for that I ran out of really quick last year. So that's the update on importing, and the update on this shipping since I last saw you. Orange cones, what are those red and yellow fish behind you? Well, I'm so glad you asked. Gold denison barbs, for everyone that really doesn't know, are these fish behind me. People ask all the time, so hopefully if we say it at the beginning, folks watching the replay will know what that is. If you're not watching the replay and you join us later, of course you won't. And so we get that question several times a week, and that's fine. To me, it just means that, hey, we found a fish that people like, that's new, that people haven't seen much before. So I'm glad people like it. The other thing that's kind of exciting is we got a commitment from another investor this week. So we are very close to not only having all the funds raised to get all the aquariums up and installed and everything up and running, but also having 6 to 8 months of runway so that we don't get into that situation that I think new businesses often fall into, which is just getting enough money to like move in or open their doors basically, and not planning ahead a bit to realize, hey, there's gonna be a lot of costs as we're first getting ramped up and going, and if we don't have the money to cover those costs, we'll have to close our doors. So operational costs, little runway, little buffer, 6 to 8 months, so that as we're getting used to the new facility and fine-tuning all the equipment that's in there in a brand new system, which I don't know anywhere else that has a system like this. I'm hoping it's not just because it's a horrible idea. I think we're being innovative in a good way, but there's going to be a lot of learning as we go. All the aquarium fish facilities I know of are recirculating systems. This is a flow-through system, so we don't know what we don't know. I've researched all I can. I've gone to trout hatcheries and things that use flow-through systems, but kind of tropical aquarium fish, this is new to me in that aspect. So there's all kinds of things we want to cover for, and we're almost there. There's still a little more to raise, so if you are interested in investing in the company, send me an email, dan@dansfish.com, and I can send you the business plan and the kind of the information so you can make an informed choice. But we're very close to the end, so I'm very excited. I can't wait to get to the point where I don't have to put any of my time and energy into fundraising anymore, and I can just focus on the expansion and growing this company and fulfilling our mission. So it's going well, though. No matter what happens, we're gonna be okay. We are gonna be able to open and get up and running, but it would be nice to have just a little more runway funded before we go, just so that we make sure we don't get in any kind of sticky situation that we can't foresee as we get up and running. So anyway, how many people are here? 166 folks. Thanks for being here, folks. I appreciate you. If you wouldn't mind sharing, liking, subscribing, all that stuff us YouTubers are always begging you to do, it would be most appreciated. And right now, sharing it out, letting people know that we're up and live and going would be awesome to get more people in here. Let's talk about the giveaway. So I have to go to Nightbot and get that set up. I've been spending a lot of time the last week working with the accountant to make sure that all the books are up to par so they can put out their paperwork to the investors and things by the end of the month, so everyone's taken care of. So it's a pretty busy day today. Hashtag Ricefish. Okay, so if you would like to win some Ricefish, these are Medaka, and I'll go into that in a moment, then just enter hashtag Ricefish, keeping it real simple. In fact, I don't even think I need a capital F in there, but I'm not going to change it now because it might screw someone up who's entering it right now. But we're giving away some Ricefish today. These are going to be an assortment of lamé. So the lamé rice fish is the one that has a lot of sparkles on its sides. They look like they were dipped in glitter. A really good one has a lot of sparkle on it. And they're named after the lamé fabric, which is that really bright, shiny, kind of sequiny type fabric. Think of like Elvis or Liberace or something like that. It's a French term for that kind of fabric. And so in English, it's lame, which is always funny to me. But it's supposed to be named after this really kind of classy type, showy, ostentatious, I guess would be the right word, fabric. And some of them are white, some of them are orange, and shades in between. So it's kind of a mix of white and orange. They come out of a blue line, supposedly. I don't know because I didn't visit the farm in Japan, but supposedly they come from a blue line. So I'm not sure what kind of babies they'll throw, but I don't know. Be interesting to see. At the very least, you'll get some really cool looking lamé rice fish, some cool Medaka. Now, for those that might not know, rice fish, this species of rice fish comes from Japan, which is a more temperate climate. They don't like it really hot. So keep that in mind. If you have like an unheated basement or something like that, that's great for them. They easily down to the mid 60s right for when you receive them, if you float them in the bag and get them down there. And they can live in ponds and environments where there's ice on the top. They have to be kind of gradually introduced to that over like a seasonal change type time period, but they don't need it hot. So if you have an unheated tank, or you want to keep a pond over the winter or anything like that, they're a good option. And they're coming out with just some amazing strains, some really nice colors, and they're pretty darn hardy as fish go. As aquarium fish go, they're pretty hardy. So I'm sure most folks here are familiar with rice fish, but in case you're not, that's a little teaser. If you Google rice fish or Medaka rice fish, I Googled Medaka earlier today in preparation for this, and apparently it's an anime show because all this anime popped up. So I had to alter it to Medaka rice fish to clarify. So yeah, they're amazing little fish. They eat anything, not picky. They like clean water like most fish, but they're pretty hardy. And most, actually all of them, they come out of Japan, and the Japanese breeders have been breeding them from a top-down view because they often keep them outside in little ponds or very large like flower pot type bowls, things like that. So they aren't necessarily looking through clear glass at the side. So they're really bred to be viewed from the top. So some strains are prettier from the top than others. One reason I think that the lamé are nice is because no matter if you're looking from the top or the side, they're really pretty. So if you're, like us in the United States, we generally want our fish to be viewed from the side through the aquarium glass, as opposed to Japan, where they're originating from, they're bred to be top down. So I think the lamé are good for kind of anybody, no matter what their setup is, pond or flower pot or aquarium. So with that, we're going to open it up to questions and comments. Look at that. I only talked for 14 minutes and we're already ready for questions and comments. That's pretty good. So excuse me. So I'm going to scroll up and see what I can see. I did catch a comment right before I went live, and I can't scroll up far enough to see who left this, but whoever it was, thank you for looking out for me. This said, make sure that Dan knows to test for, I think it was boron or bromide. I think it's boron. Because if you're using ozone, the comment said that ozone mixing with that element or that compound depends on if it's boron or bromide, if it's a element or a compound, molecule. But anyway, that can be dangerous, can be cancerous. So just so you know, whoever left that comment, we're okay. We're not using ozone. We went with UV instead. We looked at all the options, and UV just made more sense. And part of the decision to go with UV was because of things like that, where if anything went wrong with the ozone system, there could be some real consequences. Ozone getting out into the building or something like that. Now, the engineers that design and manufacture those ozone systems will tell you, no, it's super safe and all that. And they might be right. I don't know that much about it. But we did cost comparison studies, and that was a factor too. Ozone's pretty expensive. But we also, I kept running into things about all the stuff that could go wrong with ozone. And I didn't feel comfortable putting myself or my employees in a situation like that. Now, it might be different if we had a big enough plot of land or enough funds or whatever to build a separate building just to house the ozone, kind of outside and a little bit away from the main warehouse or something like that. So if something went wrong, it was just contained out there. But we're not. That's not a good use of funds and resources at this time when we can do everything just in one building using UV. So we did make that decision. So whoever left that comment, I appreciate you looking out for me. Thank you. Thanks for caring enough to to look out. Orange cones. I'm going to sit outside the warehouse with a "Will Work for Fish" sign. No, you won't. You'll be put to work cleaning tanks. Toot sweet. You wouldn't be out there long. I'd be like, hey, why don't you hold the sign in here while you scrub some algae? Who ate freshwater Canucks recommend dance fish all the time, but mostly Americans, as it's just too much for us Canadians to see amazing work. Unattainable. Thanks for emailing back. Hey, you're welcome. I'm sorry, I'm not going to be sending to Canada for a little while. I know it can be done. It's just, I got so much on my plate. I can't focus on too much at one time. T-Shot throwing down $5. Hey, thanks for the super chat. Always appreciated, never required. But as you know, it does make my wife super happy when money falls from the sky. I'm interested in Sultan Pleco. I have a 55-gallon planted dwarf cichlid only tank with cory cats, rummy nose, dwarf rainbows. Would this work? Yeah, I think that would work. Now, dwarf cichlids is a very broad category. There are some dwarf cichlids that are just mean little suckers, like multis, shell dwellers. And then there's others that are super peaceful, like Acara. So I'm assuming that you have a fairly peaceful type of cichlid that isn't going to beat up on them. So I think that would probably work. What I will say about the Sultan plecos, one thing I've found is even though they're not an ancistrus, they're more of a hypancistrus type, they do really appreciate wood. So I have kind of a little hollow log in there that I got off a tree in the backyard, an old kind of dead tree, and they're in there all the time. And they're chewing on it and stuff. So they're not like a Panache or an ancistrus as much. They do like a lot of meat in their diet, but they do really appreciate some wood. So if you have some driftwood in there, I think that they would feel, I think that would help them feel at home, just from what I'm observing. So they do seem to chew on it a bit and things like that too. Now, they're still fairly young, and so I'm not sure if as they mature that behavior goes away and they become more carnivorous or what, but right now they appear to really like a little wood. Apart from that, I would say that if you felt like a small, like 2-inch bushy nose would be safe in that aquarium and do well, that I think the Sultans probably would too, as far as aggression from other fish is concerned or being able to hold their own. So they have a lot of spikes and armor and stuff like that, so they can hold up. And I don't think I've lost a single one. They appear to be pretty hardy, no issues, and they don't get too big. They're going to top out at, I can't remember exactly, but I think it's right around 4 inches, 3 to 4 inches, somewhere around there. So good size for a tank like that with those fish. The one thing that I think we do have to be careful of with plecos is when they're in a community tank like that with, what was that, some tetras, dwarf rainbows, cichlids, that we make sure they get enough food, because if you're like a lot of people and you just feed during the day and put some flake in there or whatever, that's not going to be sufficient. They're going to need some sinking pellets that get right down to them, maybe feeding after dark so that they actually come out and eat. With plecos, it's important to tailor feeding to them specifically, especially when they're in a tank with other fish that will just outcompete them quickly for food. Now, once the plecos learn to eat, that's less of an issue, because you drop in the pellets, they'll sense it, and they'll come out and start eating. But at first, and it takes quite a while, when they're first settling in, they need to be spot fed. Okay. Chat jumped, so let me scroll here. I'm not real surprised. 227 folks here. Thanks for being here, folks. Good to have you. Welcome to the live stream. Killers Aquatics. Patsy Cline popularized the lame fabric. Good to know. Good to know. All things fish. Hashtag Ricefish. Thanks for the chance. And thanks for stopping by last night. The support was unexpected, and I had no idea it would go over as well as it did. Hashtag breeding is pleasure. You know it. You're welcome, Mike. Thank you for all the help you've been to the community and modding the Get Gills Facebook page and making sure everyone behaves on there and adding your own content to it. So, yeah, it's great to see you. It's great to see you on YouTube. And Guam seems awesome, but I can't wait till you can get back and do stuff in the fish room and share that with us. That's going to be neat. Kevin Leong, how would a flow-through system work if you have different types of fish and different water parameters and needs for the temperatures? Well, that's one reason we're not going to be doing things like discus and rams and stuff like that. So everything will need to be able to live in those parameters. So I will say, though, that apart from temperature, almost every aquarium fish will do fine in this water. So it's going to be harder and more alkaline than my current water, which is nice because it will, things like if you notice, I hardly have any strains of live bearers, like very few guppies, platies, all that stuff. And that stuff is awesome. And there are some amazing strains out there that I would like to get a hold of and distribute. But I don't bring them in just because my soft water that I currently have is pretty hard on guppies especially. So, however, hard alkaline water is fine for all fish. I've never met a fish, I think this is safe to say, I think this is true, I've never met a fish, no matter how it's purported that it has to have soft acidic water or whatever, it doesn't do well in hard alkaline water if the aquarium is kept well and the parameters are stable. So the only parameter I really worry about, honestly, is temperature and soft water. Because there are species that soft water is hard on, especially if they're coming from hard water. But apart from that, I mean, I'm not talking about ammonia and nitrite and nitrate and waste products. I'm talking about things like pH and hardness and all that. Like, I don't worry about the pH or any of that. So as long as the water is, say, 76, 78 degrees, and has some minerals in it, some hardness, some alkalinity, almost every fish that we keep in the hobby does well in that situation. The other thing is I have two types of water. I have the hard water, harder water coming out of the creek system, and then I have very soft water coming from the city's water supply, which is what I'm currently using here in my home. So there is a chance if we ever do want to do some breeding projects or something with soft water species, we have that available. But yeah, but you're right, there are some fish I won't be keeping. I won't be doing rams, I won't be doing discus, I won't be doing other fish that need something other than like your mid to upper 70s range temperatures. But that's almost everything. So, yep. I know it's weird. I know if you get on the internet, you'll read that, no, this fish needs this pH and this hardness and da-da-da-da-da. But to me, honestly, I've never seen that be an important parameter, unless we're talking soft water. Soft water can be hard on some species. Official Fire Mage. Hello, I don't remember me. You don't remember you. But I was the guy in the Rosy Tetra giveaway update. The Pygmy Corridors are doing all right. I have 9 now, and they are showing very well. Awesome, Official Fire Mage. I'm glad to hear that they're doing good. Glad to hear that. Let's see here. Danny Weshi, could the Ricefish withstand the heat of Missouri over summer outside? Well, they're pretty hardy, and so I think they can. I would definitely keep them in a shaded area, and with heat comes a couple issues. One of the main ones is a lack of oxygen and the quicker metabolism and reproduction of little microorganisms. Organics in the water have a much higher impact, a much quicker impact on a system at a higher temperature than a lower temperature. The decaying process is just much quicker on organics. And by organics, we're talking about anything that is going to decompose in the aquarium. Dead plant pieces, uneaten food, fish waste, stuff that grows on the fish's metabolic processes and things like that. So I would say you do want to keep them fairly cool. If you have a container that you can bury in the ground, basically, the ground around will really help insulate it. And if you can keep it in the shade, that'll help as well. I would definitely have an air stone in there or a sponge filter, something actively bubbling to make sure there's good oxygen saturation and surface movement in a pond or a container in the hot weather. And the other thing I would do is I would make sure the water's clean. I would keep organics to a minimum. And I'm not saying sterilize the tank and make it so that you don't have a nitrogen cycle going anymore. I'm just saying you don't want a bunch of decomposing, that fresh mold that's actively decomposing. You don't want that in there. You want to get all that stuff out so that there's as much oxygen saturation as possible and less competition from decaying organics. So now in Japan, you'll see them keeping ricefish out in bowls in the sunlight and stuff, and it does in the summer. It gets warm in Japan. It's not always cold, so they can withstand a wide temperature swing. But when it gets real hot, it can be stressful, especially if there's not enough oxygen saturation or there's too many decaying organics. That would be my thoughts on that. Someone here, I guess it would help to know, what is the warmest that folks have had success with Medaka? For me, I would say it's in the low 80s. I've never kept them higher than probably 82 degrees is the highest I've gone for any length of time in the summer when it got hot. And they did fine, but the water was clean and there was a lot of oxygen saturation and airflow and things. But I'm curious what other people's experience has been, because I haven't kept Medaka outside a lot. So were they okay for you in the summer? How hot did it get? Did it, how did it go? That would be good information, I think, to know. Chat jumps. So Audrey Sampson is the next one I can see. The anime is called Medaka Magical. Actually a really good artsy show, must watch for new anime fans. So at least you stumbled on a great show. Yeah, thanks. So I typed in Medaka and it just showed Medaka. I guess it probably, you know how searches will sometimes fix it for you and they're like, we know you searched for this, but we're showing you results for this instead. Yeah, I probably did that and I didn't realize it. Peeps Lost Sheep, how do they do with adult cherry shrimp? Oh, ricefish? Just fine. Yeah, just fine. Just like, I don't know, same as like a guppy, I suppose, as far as a threat to the shrimp. Elysian AS, although it is not a Nigerian species, if tilapia Ruetti shows up on your list, I'd be very interested. Okay, let's look at that one. I am not super well versed in the tilapia group of fish, so it'd be interesting to see. Oh, cool. Oh yeah, look at that, all the spangles and stuff. That is a pretty fish, isn't it? You know what it reminds me? It reminds me of an oversized batis. like a batis. I mean, not exactly, but just kind of the barring and the spangling and the blue line. I'm probably the only one that sees that, but that's the first thing that popped in my mind when I saw that picture. That's a big batis. Gamby Aaron. Oh, that was Gamby that was... Thank you, Gamby. Talking about the bromide in the ozone. Yes, thank you for looking out for me. We're going to use UV, so no concerns about ozone. Rockford Fish Keeping. Dan's Fish only talked for 15 minutes. The sky is falling. Well, I haven't caught up to the end of chat yet, so hell has not frozen over, but that's the next step, right? Hello, Ginger. Good to see you, lady. Hope you're doing well. Mike Stambaugh. The Ricefish and Barbados Cories would be a good tank. That's great. Yeah. Neither like high temperatures. That actually, Mike, is right on the money. Yeah. Corridors, or scleromastics, really. Barbados and Ricefish together. Yes. Maybe some white clouds, something like that. They do like the same kind of parameters. Like it. Pretty cool. Skipper's Aquariums. To ask a question, make sure you type @DansFish so it highlights for him to see. Yes, thank you so much for reminding folks. When you do that, what I see is these nice bright orange things. That's how I know these are meant for me, so I just kind of skip from bright orange box to bright orange box as I'm going down the chat. So that's how I decide which questions and comments to answer, because I assume that the rest is just you guys talking among yourselves, having a good time, joking around, making fun of my stubble, you know, whatever. My beautiful haircut that I got here with the sword plant. And so I don't take time to read all that stuff, because I think that makes boring television. So I skip from orange to orange. Duckstat throwing down $5. Thanks for the heat pack help. They arrived fine despite my worry. Thanks. Hey, you're welcome. And anytime I can help someone who's new to shipping or using heat packs for the first time or whatever, please don't hesitate to reach out. Dan@dansfish.com. I think that's an area of the hobby that needs a lot of improvement, and I think I'm uniquely qualified to help with that, so I'm happy to. Not a problem at all, and I'm glad it went well for you. Mainly bet is $4.99, keeping the wife happy. Hashtag happy wife, happy life. Hey, thank you, Mainly Bettis. I appreciate that. I'll let her know that you put that down. That'll make her chuckle. Thank you so much. Official Fire Mage, can Ricefish be with guppies? Absolutely. So Ricefish are a very peaceful, community-oriented fish. They can go with almost anything else that is also peaceful and community-oriented in its behavior. So yeah, Ricefish and guppies, absolutely, not a problem. Okay. Gamby Aaron, sorry buddy, I wrote that question again before you replied in the live chat. Oh, no worries, Gamby. It's not your fault I'm so behind all the time. And again, just thanks for looking out. It just, you know, sometimes people are looking out for me and they'll send me an email or a message or something, and I totally disagree. Other times they do, and I'm like, oh man, I never thought of that, and it's hugely valuable. So I always appreciate it when someone takes the time, even when I disagree. Because let's say, I'm making this number up. Let's say that like 100 times I'm like, nah, that's not a problem, and I choose to do it anyway. But once it's like, oh man, I didn't realize that, and you saved my bacon, right? It's worth getting the 100 messages or comments that I'm like, oh, actually I disagree, I don't think that's a problem, to get the one where I'm like, oh man, I didn't think of that. And there's been some times when I've got feedback that's been very helpful. One of those, just to give you an example, and by the way, even when I disagree, I appreciate it, because anytime anyone cares enough to go out of their way and take the time to reach out or be like, hey buddy, you should know about this or whatever, that's great. The fact that people care enough to do that is the way I look at it. Not like, man, you're annoying me. It's never that. So just please understand it's appreciated, even if I don't agree or implement whatever the suggestion is. But I want to show you a case where it was a big help to the business. And Hang on, I've got to find this, and it's going to take me just a second, but it won't take me too long. I know pretty much where it is. Okay, floor plan. Where was it? I think it was here. Yes. So that's one. We put that down so I can show that to you and then show you where we went after that. And then the last one will be, hopefully this will be interesting for you folks. It'll be this one, I think. Yeah, okay, so let me get these to the right size just to relay a point here. I want to get these to the right size so when I pop them up here, okay, that's the right size. Okay, so let me share something here. So this was kind of the original idea that I was thinking of for the warehouse. And as you can see, it's a lot of aquariums. And then this section over here on the end, I was thinking of putting the packing tables and kind of the computers at a desk or whatever to, you know, get on email and help customers and all that stuff. And so kind of the business packing and everything that had to do with running the business would go here, and then the fish would be here. And I thought, hey, this would be pretty good. There's enough space here that you can go down and around. Like, you don't go all the way down, hit a wall, and be like, man, that was the wrong row. I have to go all the way back, and it was on this row, that fish. So I thought this looked pretty efficient. And then I showed this to folks, I believe on a live stream like this probably, and someone who has more information about efficiency in warehouses and in manufacturing situations, not the fish are manufacturing, but that knows about that stuff, it reached out and was like, actually, that's pretty inefficient, because every time you from here have to go all the way to the end and back, you're doubling your distance. If you put the workstations in the middle, then you only have to travel half as far. And so that's much more efficient. It's a Sigma 6 efficiency is what they told me. And so I was like, that makes total sense. So the next iteration was something like this, where here's like the packing stations and the workstations, and I couldn't fit the computer desks all in here, so they are kind of to the side, but the main work happens along here. So now you only have to travel half as far to get here. You don't go over 2 rows like you would here, right? This row and then this row. You're in the middle, so you go here or here. Much more efficient. And so how that finally is being manifest in the final plan is like this. So as you can see, let me get that all on screen here. Kind of the same thing, workstations here, desks here, and there'll be little workstations at the end of all these rows. So there'll be a sink here and a little platform here if you need to plop your laptop or your iPad or Chromebook or whatever on it to look up where something is, or if you need a little shelf or a little table to put some fish on. So kind of little work table, sink, and the same thing kind of over here. So you're going from middle out. So we took that suggestion, and I think it's going to make a big difference over time in how efficient the company is and how well we're able to use our time running the company. So that's a situation where someone did reach out and had an idea, and I thought about it, and I was like, you know what? They're right. Their idea is better than mine, and we actually implemented it. So that's, I think, over time, like over 10 years running this business, I think that little change is going to save us just so many man hours or work hours of just walking, right, as we have to go back and forth around the warehouse. So, yep. Matt Callie, when will P. reticulatus be offered again? Is there a wait list I can get on? Matt Callie, if you email me, dan@dansfish.com, I do have... oh, can I do that? Yeah, send me an email. I might be able to hook you up. Yeah. So basically what happened is the sex ratios on that order were pretty skewed, very female heavy. So I sold them off mostly in pairs or trios. I thought some of the females might color up into males. Maybe some of them were immature males. And so I didn't know how skewed it was because I wasn't confident on the sexes. But it's been long enough now that I know that I have one male. He's still he's smaller still, but he is a male. I mean, I can tell now with confidence he's a male. And then like 7 females left. So I did hold some back because I was waiting for them to sex out better. So I do have some. I guess what I should... Yeah, so email me. I do happen to have a few that I could part with. Bad Ombre, how do you decide which fish to bring in? Well, it's a good question. Basically what I do is when I'm planning an import is I go over the lists and I make just a big list of everything that I want to bring in. And it's usually massive because I like a lot of fish. Each one is cooler than the last, right? They're each unique in their own way and I just like them all. But automatically as I'm making that list, I'm weeding out things that are large. I don't carry fish that grow really big or anything like that, or super aggressive and things like that. So I'm kind of weeding some stuff out as I go. But I end up with this massive list. So what I do based on that is I run the math on each fish that on that massive list. And I run the math, and the numbers tell me the real cost, not just what does the fish cost that it's listed for the whole for the importer, like what their cost is, but I have a thing that I can run that tells me the real cost of bringing the fish in, what's it cost per fish, what's their markup, what will the profit be. So part of it is I let the numbers guide me. That tells me that the formula I've developed that I run all this through tells me what I would have to sell the fish for to make the margin I have to make in order to keep the company in business, basically. And so based on that, I kind of have a sense for what the market is and what people are expecting to pay for a fish. So there are fish that in order to bring them in and do it the way I do it, I would have to charge way too much. So those go off the list. Because if someone else is selling a fish for $1 and I have to sell it for $10, that's almost an insurmountable increase of cost. There are some people that would pay it because they understand, I think, the value of I guess I want to say the way we do things here. But that's a large ask. Hey, you want a neon tetra? It's $10. Like that's not something I'm comfortable doing. So a lot of things are whittled away from that list just by cost realities. And then so I kind of look at that. Can I sell this and still make my margin at a rate that the market will bear, basically, is the question. And so a lot of stuff gets off the list for that. Then what's left, I'm like, okay, of these, what do I think most people will want? What have people been asking for? What did I sell out of so fast last time that a lot of people were disappointed? Things like that. So from there, it's kind of like, okay, all these fish I could get, they'll all make enough margin that I can stay in business. So then it's kind of like, what do we think people will like? And then there's sometimes one or two that I get just because I'm like, I really like that. And so I'm going to try it. Like, I don't know if it'll work. I don't know how many people will like that fish, but I'm going to try it. So like the Horn Sunset Gara, that's an example of that didn't work super well. I think they're super cool. I brought them in and I haven't sold a whole lot of them. So every now and then that backfires, but usually what happens is there's enough people that have been looking for that oddity that I can bring in a batch, and usually it sells in a reasonable amount of time. But Matt, who asked that? That was Bad Hombre. So that's kind of the process. I basically have to let data and the realities of the math guide my decisions to a point, and from there I can kind of take artistic license and figure it out from there. Now, as we grow, this will be a little easier to decide because we'll have the data of, okay, this species we bring in, and how long does it take to sell? Like we'll have basically demand data that we'll be aggregating, and that'll guide some of these things. So it won't just be me kind of going off memory and kind of more, I want to call it anecdotal stuff. We'll have actual data tables and things to guide this a little more, but we'll never get to the point where there's no creative license involved. We want to keep it interesting for us and for everyone else. So that's the process. It's so important, I think, though, the basic thing is know your real costs. If you're planning on reselling fish or breeding fish and raising them for sale or whatever, do whatever it takes to figure out your real costs before you get in too deep, so you know what you have to do, and then you can determine if you can in reality do that. And if you can't, it's probably not a good idea to launch that business or make that order. Yeah. Orange cones. I have an algae scraper on a 2-foot pole. Awesome. Awesome. Is it the size of like a car windshield wiper? Like, not wiper like that goes back and forth, but the kind you use at the gas station to clean your windshield? Bring that on over, I'll put you to work. Shrestha. Oh, I don't know why that's so hard for me to say. Shrestha. Sorry I'm late. Whew. No problem. Or what I should say is off to the principal. Maria Z, that Sultan Pleco is so sweet that I ordered 2 more. Oh, I didn't see your order come through. Awesome. I'm glad you like them, Maria. I love them. They're just so pretty. And I like they don't get too big. Angling and aquatics. Who has good koi? That's a world I've never really ventured into, so I'm sorry I'm not qualified to give you an answer that would be very helpful. But folks here, I know a lot of you have koi ponds and have kept koi, so who have you found to be the best koi supplier? Let's help angling and aquatics out. Dragon Layer, any dwarf cichlids in the Congo order? There are. There's a few. There's some Hemichroma species. There's some pelvic achroma species. Not a ton, though. This supplier doesn't have a whole lot of cichlids on the list. I do have another supplier from West Africa that has a whole lot of nanochroma species on it and stuff, but that won't be coming in this order, unfortunately. I do plan on dipping my toe in nanochromas, though. I've got a lot to learn, though. I haven't kept many nanochromas, so it's something I'll need to learn more about. So sorry, Dragon Layer, but not a whole lot of cichlid action. Mr. Fish, sir, wish I was able to come help you with the tanks. Well, we're here. Next time you find yourself randomly in the middle of Wyoming for no good reason, come on up. Eric Negron, do you wish list fish that aren't on your site, or do I have to wait until they become available on your site and pray that I get them? Eric, I was keeping a wish list for a while, but things got so hectic that what I found myself doing is just listing all the new fish, and like it's just so much work to get everything up and listed and all that stuff that I was doing that and not checking the list very often. And so I stopped the wish list because I didn't want to get in a situation. When you have a wish list, you're more or less, I guess, agreeing, or there's some expectation from the customer that you will notify them when the item comes in stock, right? And I don't want to get in a situation where the item's in stock and I list it and it sells out, and there's people that are like, what? I was on the wish list. Why didn't I get it? And so I stopped doing the wish list. Now, I do see a scenario where we could make a wish list that kind of is an automated function. And in a situation like that, yes, we would reinstate it. That way, as soon as the item was back in stock, you would automatically be notified. So there wouldn't be this danger of me just kind of forgetting and in creating a frustrating situation for you, the customer. So unfortunately, I can't right now keep up on the wish list, so I've kind of stopped. And I think that's the right choice. I think it's probably less disappointing to have to look on the website occasionally and one day be like, oh, it's there, and order it, then to me to make like a tacit agreement with you, forget to hold up my end, and then it's like, what, those sold out? I should have got them. So that's what I'm going with. The least customer disappointment is what I'm going with on that one. But I will say that I keep people fairly up to date on what's coming in and all the new stuff here on these live streams. So if you're ever wondering, I do talk about it on the live streams. Official Fire Mage, how many Ricefish going to be in the giveaway? Also, is Ricefish good with guppies and corridors? I think I'll probably do 6 in the giveaway. It could be as few as 3, but it could be as many as 6. So 3 to 6. And yeah, Ricefish are good with guppies and cories, absolutely. Really easy fish to keep. Really peaceful. Not a problem. Mitchell Broom, the Pseudomilgo reticulatus eggs have started hatching. Yes! So far, the very standard Pseudomilgo spawning setup works well. So I'm imagining like just a spawning mop or something like that. But I'm so glad. Did I say Michelle? I hope not. Mitchell. If I called you Michelle, I apologize. Mitchell's not Michelle unless it's a weekend. No, I'm joking, Mitchell. But yeah, I'm so glad to hear that they're hatching for you. That's great. Congratulations. Keep them coming. That is just the best news. MW Neps. Hey, just curious about how you got your first Ricefish. Did you find them locally or did you get them overseas? No, I would have got them locally probably as a teenager. But the store I got them from probably would have brought them in from overseas. So I was a kid when I first got them. And so that would have been, I mean, I can't imagine that the store had a local breeder. I'm pretty sure they brought them in. Jeremy Murray, hey Jeremy, how do I get my 2-spot cast to stop hiding? Well, just the male named Skinny hide a lot. So the male's hiding. It takes time. It takes time. And, you know, a lot of catfish are nocturnal. A lot of catfish do hide in the day and kind of only come out either crepuscularly, which means dawn or dusk, or at nighttime. So it's not an indication necessarily that something's wrong if the catfish is hiding. It's in their nature to do so. But what will happen with 2-spot catfish is as they get comfortable, and this can take several weeks, but in my experience, as they get comfortable, they'll start coming out at feeding time. You lift the lid, they're like, oh, food, and they start coming right out. So it's going to take some time though, Jeremy, because it's in their nature to hide. But again, with time, with settling in my experience, they'll come out at feeding time because they get very excited. Danny Wetchy, I had a customer come in today that said her goldfish were aggressive and eating each other. Have you ever heard of this? The smaller ones are eating the scales off the bigger ones. I've never heard of that. I haven't kept goldfish in a long time, but I have had goldfish in the past, and I never saw anything like that. I've never seen anything like that in the tanks of friends or the ponds of friends that kept goldfish. So, I don't know. I suppose anything's possible. My guess is, though, that there's another cause, that something else damaged the fish and the customer is thinking it was the other goldfish, or something else damaged the fish and now the little ones are kind of picking at the damaged spot and the customer thinks that is seeing that and attributing the problem to the other goldfish when it could have scraped its side, or maybe there's a plecostomus in there that's slime hungry or something. I don't know. But no, I've never heard of that, Danny. Goyo V, what are the hardiest cold water fish you'd recommend? I'm wanting to try and start my first outdoor pond tub. Ricefish are very hardy. white clouds are very hardy, and paradise fish are very hardy. So those are 3 to get you started. JL, what can cause cherry shrimp to suddenly die? Start dying one at a time. Could it be lack of hardness? Lack of hardness would be something pretty far, wouldn't be very high on my priority list if I was trying to diagnose that. I've kept cherry shrimp in super hard water and in super soft water, and they've been fine. So I think it would be very rare that there's an aquarium with water in it that is so soft that cherry shrimp would have a problem because of the softness. Maybe if you're doing like an RODI tank, or you have a ton of plants and the water's super soft for the plants, or in void of minerals or something like that. But if you're if you're like most people in the United States, you probably have hard alkaline water. I don't know, maybe you live in like Washington and you're like, nope, it's pure rainwater or something, in which case it could be an issue. But I've kept them in hard water and soft water. What I found with cherry shrimp is, and I want to be frank, I'm not like there are true shrimp geeks out there that all they do is shrimp and could probably answer this better. But I've kept a lot of shrimp for a lot of years and bred and raised lots of strains. So what I've found is when I first get them in, one of 3 things can happen. The entire batch can be pretty much rock solid, and maybe one will pass away occasionally, but that doesn't last long, and it's not a lot of them. And then that batch will be solid kind of forever in a well-established, seasoned, well-maintained tank. The new batch comes in, and there's a few that die, I don't know, every few days or something, and that cycle never stops. Or the batch comes in and like almost within a couple days, they're all just dropping like flies, right? Those are the 3 scenarios. In the last 2 scenarios, gradually passing away, like a few at a time, pretty much from the time I get them in, or within a few days after I get them in, or kind of dying in mass, I don't know how to fix that. That seems like something that happened during shipping, something they come in with, and it's an issue. The first thing, they come in and they're pretty much rock solid. They do well in almost anything, in my experience. So I usually attribute it to the source or the shipping process or something like that. So in your case, I don't know. Maybe you're like, nope, I've had this colony going for 5 years. No new shrimp have been introduced or anything, in which case I wouldn't know without testing the parameters. But I will say, if it's a kind of a new batch that you've got in, and they're just kind of every now and then, one goes every few days or something like that, I've never been able to overcome that. I think that's something that happens before I get them. In my level of expertise with shrimp, I don't know how to fix it. Official Fire Mage, how many gallons for Ricefish? I mean, as long as parameters are good, you could keep 6 of them in a 5.5 gallon aquarium, I would say. They're not a massive fish. They move around, but they aren't like a super rapid swimmer or anything like that. And they're literally raised in like earthen bowls and things like. How many times can I say things like that in this response to your question? So they don't need a ton of room. Now, you know, your standard 10 gallons is going to be just fine for a group of 6. Rockford Fish Keeping, are you going to be getting more longfin aeneas in? I will, but it's going to be a little while. My favorite supplier for those is in Indonesia, so I need to clear the Nigeria shipment before I place that order. Orange Cones, I will not be toting water buckets from the house, softer water, to the warehouse, harder water, no matter how close they are. Oh, yeah. So let me be clear, the warehouse has 2 types of water. So it has the water from the creek, and it also has city service water, which is the same as what I have in the house. So yeah, it's going to be sourced right to the warehouse. No toting buckets around. Although, can you imagine the workout? Boom! Tasty fish sauce. Sorry, chat jumped. So if I'm ignoring you, it's not on purpose. It's just because I can no longer see your comment because chat moved on me and won't let me back up. Tasty fish sauce. Good fish to control population of Malaysian trumpet snails. Thanks. I do not know tasty fish sauce. I'm MTS free, and I work hard to stay that way. But I know some people love them. I get it. Like if you have shell dwellers, they're kind of great because they're one of the few creatures that can dig down in the gravel and keep it from getting stagnant and not be just wiped out by the shell dwellers. But I've heard tell that folks feed them to puffers, but I don't think that's going to eradicate them. It might help control them, but there's going to be enough down in the gravel that when the puffer goes to sleep, they're all going to come out. I've also heard other folks tell me that the shells of the Malaysian trumpet snails, MTS, are too hard for puffers and can actually be dangerous for crack their teeth or something like that. So I don't know. I've never tried it. Does anyone have any idea? Is there some kind of medication or something? Like I don't think flubendazole would work, but something of that ilk that could take care of a population of them. I really don't know. I mean, there's loaches and stuff, but Malaysian trumpet snails have a trap door, so that makes it hard for a loach to get to them. It would almost have to be something that cracks their shells and is active at night, because MTS are mostly nocturnal. So that's a tall order. And that's the reason why no one can get rid of them. Esrestha, watch your video about culturing blackworm. I see you kept it as you keep fish, but at the end saw you wash it with tap water before feeding. Is it okay? It won't kill them? Also, what temp? So, no, just rinsing them out before feeding them in tap water. In cold tap water, you want it cold, it won't kill the worms. Now, I say that maybe in your area you have some really nasty tap water and it could hurt them, but I've done it every place I've lived since I was a kid. And I've hard water, soft water, Los Angeles city water, which is atrocious, Utah city water, which isn't good, all kinds of different waters, and it's not a problem. So for me, it's never been an issue. And cold tap water is good. Now, if you're keeping them and trying to breed them, then low 70s is pretty good. They'll reproduce quicker. But if you're just trying to rinse them or preserve them, then as cold as you can get that water without turning it to ice is what you want. Terry's Tropical Tanks, my only suggestion, kegerator in the fish room. Okay, I was like, my mind couldn't process. I was like, what's a kegenerator? The kegerator in the fish room. Yeah, but then I'd never get anything done. I'm such a lightweight. I would never get any work done. Jerry Serple Morris, I saw one of my fish swimming funny and was going to pull it out into a quarantine tank to keep the illness from spreading. Now it's missing in the hardscape. Should I remove the others? Oh, I'm sorry that's happening. That's never fun. Well, there's a couple. It depends on the tank. If you're going to have to destroy the whole tank to find one little fish, then I wouldn't. I bet that as long as the system is well established and seasoned and healthy, it can metabolize one dead fish. I mean, I'm imagining it's not like a big pleco or something. It's just a small little fish. A large fish, yeah, you're going to have to dig it out. So probably not. The other thing is that in a couple days, it might actually float up to the surface where you can find it. And then the third thing is, if you have any scavengers in that tank and it's a small fish, they're going to take care of it within a couple days. If it died, they'll eat it. So now, if you can get out the hardscape and it's not going to destroy the whole tank and months and months of work and plant growth and stuff, then sure, go ahead. But I guess it's weighing how much is this fish actually going to hurt the tank against how much is me digging it out going to hurt the tank, I guess is the equation to solve there. Nurse Beck is throwing down $9.99. Nurse Beckus, it's good to see you. I'm glad you're here. Just admiring my stunning croakers and feeling thankful for you, my friend. Hashtag favorites, hashtag gourami girl. Hey, I'm glad that you're liking the croaking gouramis. They are pretty cool. That is another one I want to bring in soon. And people ask me for them quite frequently, so I think there's some demand. I actually have a couple still now, but their tails aren't right, so I just keep them. Like, there's certain gimp fish that I never sell. I just keep them and just let them hang out here, for a few years till they get, super old and go the way of nature. But yeah. B-Start. Had them in a tank year-round in Florida. Must have an air stone. The Ricefish. 99 outside. Water temps 90 at max. Okay, so B-Start has kept them pretty warm in Florida to help answer the question. And but yeah, definitely have an air stone, because at those high temperatures, oxygen is going to be depleted in the water pretty quickly, because warm water has less ability to absorb oxygen. That's the issue. The higher the water temperature gets, the less oxygen can absorb into it, less readily. Yep. So keep an air stone and keep it clean. That'll help. IHSPs, Tank Tribe. And what about stacked stands? How do you label for the fish on different levels of the stands? I'm not quite sure, IHSP's Tank Tribe, what the question is. I just label the aquariums themselves. So, and what about stacked stands? How do you label for the fish? Yeah, each tank has a separate label on it, so it's pretty clear which fish is in which tank. But maybe you're asking something different and I just don't quite understand. So let me know if I misunderstood. Scott Backer, good to see you. Hope you're doing well. Don Gallagher, when will you have more of your platies to sell? That will be a while, Don. I'm probably going to wait for more platies and things of that ilk until I get in the warehouse, just because they do so much. So the trick with a fish like a platy is it's likely raised in hard water, maybe even salt in the water at the farm or whatever. And so I can bring them in and I can get them healthy and stuff and acclimate them, but it takes a ton of work and a lot of TLC because my water's soft. It just adds dimensions of complexity to the process, I guess, is the way to describe it. So to avoid that, the extra work on me and the extra stress on the fish, I'm probably going to avoid bringing them in until the warehouse is up and running and I have water that they'll more naturally settle into and be more comfortable with from the get-go. Now, if I see a really cool strain or something like that, then I'll bring them in. I can take care of them. I know how to do it, but yeah, that's the answer to that. Peeps Lost Sheep. Do you ever get in striped coolie loaches? I've been looking for them in my area since September, and I can't find them anywhere. Striped coolie loach. Okay. I'm looking at that to see if I understand what you're talking about. So, to me, this is a normal coolie loach. I think this is what you're talking about when you're talking about a striped coolie loach, one with the classic kind of brown and yellow pattern, as opposed to kind of the red or the black coolie loach, which, let's see, like this. Some of the coolie loaches are more of like a uniform color. So if I'm understanding right, and you're talking about a coolie loach that has this kind of pattern on it, then let's see. Yeah, here's another one, kind of the silver, I guess is what that one is. Oh, that's a good picture. It looks like this site is all about different coolie loach species. So if I'm understanding you right, and you're talking about what I would call a banded coolie loach, I'll bring them in next time I see them on the list, but I only bring in giant coolie loaches. I don't bring in your standard coolie loach. So this one, if the striped coolie loach, it looks like you might be talking about a specific species. This one right here. So if you want a specific species, that I can't really do. The chain of custody and provenance when you order coolie loaches is pretty messy, and so there's no one really that lists coolie loaches, this specific species. All you kind of see is like coolie loaches, and you order, and it's like hopefully the one you wanted, and it's likely a mix of lots of different species because they don't really keep them separate. I do have a supplier that occasionally has giant coolie loaches, and I do bring those in just because they're a little different, so I can make my margin on them, honestly, is the only reason. Coolie loaches are so ubiquitous in the hobby that bringing in the standard ones, I can't sell them for enough that it makes sense with all the shipping and quarantine and all that. But the giants I can, so that's the answer to that. I wish we could, but honestly, this industry just treats coolie loaches as kind of the same thing. You can order them in 1 week, you could get, brown and yellow banded ones, and the next week you order from the same supplier and it's like, hey, these are all silver or brown or red, and then the next week you order and it's like there's a mix. Like it's kind of strange how the industry does that. Jeffrey Watts, did you find the disappearing Stiphodon anies? No, I never did. I have no idea what happened. So the only thing I can think of, and I don't think this is possible, but the only thing I can think of is that they got out through the bulkhead and down in the drain system. But I have a screen, and it's not like some little Jimmy rigged screen. It's an actual customized screw in threaded screen for the outflow of that tank into the bulkhead and outside. So I can't imagine they could get in there, but they're new to me, so they might have the ability, like a mouse or something, to kind of really squish their body down and get through tiny spaces. So I will try them one more time, and I'm going to put a fine sponge over the screen itself, and then if none of them disappear, then I know that that's the issue. But I'll be very surprised if that's the issue. But I'm kind of hoping it is, because then I can solve for that and get more in. But I wish I had an answer for you, but I still don't have a clue. Never found a single body anywhere. The Fishy Mailman, at what point should I switch from testing fresh water and switch to salt, treating, what is that? Oh, Stigmatogobius. Sorry. I thought, is that the night goby? I thought that was the name of a disease, that you were treating a disease, and I was like, I don't recognize that disease at all. You're talking about these guys. So you're treating these with resalt. They keep having fungal issues when I go full fresh. Well, this species does prefer brackish, from what I understand. And I've had them a few times, but never in my personal collection, but I've had them at places I've worked. And if I remember right, those guys are going to want brackish water. So I don't know if you'll ever be able to go full fresh and keep that species happy. So that might be the issue. Now, I'm just going off memory. I'm not an expert on them, so double check me on that. Check out Seriously Fish, check out some other sites, but I think fresh water itself might be the problem. It'd be like trying to keep a brackish water bumblebee goby or green spot puffer, figure eight puffer, something healthy long-term and pure fresh. Every now and then you hear someone who succeeds in that, but almost always it's a bad idea long-term. Bad Hombre, thank you for the detailed answer. You're welcome. So detailed, I'm sure it got me even further behind. How far? Oh, we're at 8:14. Man, this has flown by. Orange, let's go ahead and do the giveaway. Let's do this. How many people are here? We got 256. Hey, thanks for being here, everybody. Let's go ahead and do a giveaway. This is for some LeMay rice fish, the sparkly ones. Some will be white, some will be orange, some will be a mix. Or is it orange? Maybe it's yellow. They'll be pretty, but they'll be a mix. And the winner is, let's see, we have 184 eligible users. Peplin Creek Aquatics. Peplin Creek, congratulations. You have won some Medaka LeMay rice fish. Not lame, LeMay! It's like that Seinfeld. It's not a purse, it's a satchel. Go ahead and let us know you're here. You've got about, I don't know, a minute, 15 seconds left to do that. And you are here. Woo! All right, Pepplin Creek Aquatics, you know what to do. Email me, dan@dansfish.com. And if you would send me your first and last name and your mailing address, then I will send those out on Monday. So they should arrive Tuesday for you. And, if that doesn't work, let me know. But that's the plan. All right. Orange cones. Any plans to bring in Farowella species? I'd love to pick up a few more. Oh, wait. That's better. Actually, that might be better. With a face like this, you never know. So, yes, I do plan to bring in Farowellas, but it's not something that I have immediate plans to do. But I do want to look at some of the Farowellas and whiptails that are a little less commonly available. I really like the Royals. There's several species of them that are just really neat. So, yep, one day I do hope to do that. But orange cones, that's going to be a bit in the future. Now, I don't know, with everything she's had going on, if Pam, 54 Punchy, what is it? Punchy Paints, sorry, Pam, not Candy, has any Farowellas available. But for quite a while she was breeding them. I don't know if she has had any recent batches, but she would be a great source, I think. Nice hobbyist bred fish. There's been a lot going on with Pam in 2020, though, so I can't remember if she was still breeding them or what, but it might be a place to check. Pam, do you have any available? Which reminds me, I need to thank my mods. I haven't done that yet. Mods, thank you. I appreciate you. Thanks for being here every week. And yeah, I mean, what can you say? It's just amazing to me that you guys do that every week, and I appreciate you. Orange cones. My algae scraper was used to keep 440-gallon tank clean because I'm short. Yeah, you would need it for that, for sure. Even if you're not short, I mean, geez, that's a lot of tank to clean. KS, once your new business takes off, do you think shipping costs may become more economical? I don't know. I hope so. I'm always looking to lower that because I know that that's a pain point for my customers. But I have to say, the costs are pretty low right now. I'm hoping to be able to get to such a volume that I can do better than that, but I think it'll be a while. The next tier for like another big discount is huge. So yes, I hope to get there. I don't know when it could be. Geek Boy, are those horned sunset Gara as active and fun to watch as the Panda Gara? Yes, they're out and about. They're not shy. Same kind of attitude, same kind of playfulness. Yes. They don't have kind of the yellow banded color pattern, but they're neat. They're a bizarre. They're just a bizarre fish. And I would say that it's like a Panda Gara put on a different suit, but has the same behavior. Yeah. Official Fire Mage. Will the Ricefish eat guppy fry? I have guppy fries with my pygmy cories. They probably will eat some guppy fry if they're newborn, but if there's any plants in there and stuff, some guppy fry I'm sure will get away and live. But yeah, there'll be a little bit of fry control going on. I wouldn't say they're specifically like great at it. Some people want fish to control their guppy fry. And for that, I would say something like Aplochilus blockii or another small predatory killifish or something like that is a great option. But yeah, the ricefish will have some impact on the population, I would think. Not a lot, though. They aren't probably the best at it. Maybe that's good. Maybe you're like, no, I want to raise all my guppy fry. Kyle's Aquarium Metrics. Do you ever go out collecting either in the States or elsewhere to stock your tanks and breed? So I have gone collecting mostly in the United States and mostly for fun, rarely for stock to sell or breed and raise or anything like that. Mostly just to like see what's out there. And I have been in South America. I didn't really go collecting, but there were other people in the area that would go collecting, and every now and then I was really busy when I was there, but every now and then I'd see some collecting going on and poke around and see what was going on. Yeah, but not a lot. I don't have nearly as much collecting hours logged as I would like to. That is something I would like to get into more. Alicia Nayes looking for more Corydoras robinae. Have you seen them on any lists? I want to say that I have. I can't remember which list, but I think I have. I can't swear to it. But not any list that I'm going to be ordering from in the near future, I'm sorry. But if I do see them on like a convenient list that I can just like transship through or something, I do know you're looking for them, so I will look for some. But they almost never appear on those lists. It's like import direct from South America is where I see them, if I'm remembering right. Priscilla NK, what did I win? You won our admiration and our thanks, Priscilla. Take that to the bank. Eric Bunn, sorry, but chat jumped. So what part of Utah did you live in? I swear I met you somewhere before. I used to live in Sandy, Utah. Very briefly. This was very brief. It was just, I had a teaching gig at Utah Valley University, which I was kind of a temporary gig, one of those. So in academics, you get your graduate degrees, right? And then you have to pay your dues. You have to do a lot of temporary professorships and kind of gig around to build your resume to the point that you can get hired and get a tenure track and all that. So that was my last non-tenured gig, was there in Sandy, Utah. I taught for a couple semesters, and then I got a real job, and so I moved to Wyoming. So I was only there briefly. Kevin Leong, if a fish dies, is it okay for shrimp and plecos to eat it? I would be worried about it getting any disease from the deceased fish. Yeah, there's always that chance, but I think less so for shrimp, and plecos generally are rock solid. It happens all the time, though. A fish dies, odds are they've been eating on it for quite a while before we ever notice it. It happens all the time. So I'm not saying that it's like ideal to leave a corpse in a tank. In fact, if you can, you do want to get it out, either because of the spread of disease or just because that decaying body is going to create all kinds of ammonia and all kinds of food for little organisms that you don't want multiplying to large quantities in your tanks, little protozoans and stuff like that, that normally don't bother fish at all, but if they reach a certain concentration, then they can start attacking fish. So you want to get it out. But given the option of I have to tear apart my entire tank to remove one little fish versus letting one little fish decompose in a tank, I'd probably do number 2 on that one. That sounded funny. I would probably choose option number 2. There. Now, is there a chance that by eating a deceased fish, a disease could be communicated? Yes. But there's probably more chance that if that fish died of a disease, it's probably been shedding that disease for weeks before it ever died. So I don't think it's an end-all, be-all type situation. But yeah, of course, you want to get it out if you can. If you have to destroy your whole tank to do it, then you got to make a judgment call. Collins Critter Cave throwing down 99 cents and showing me some pine trees. Why, thank you. Thank you for the evergreen goodness. Appreciate the super chat, Colin. Punchy Paints, be sure to highlight your questions for Dan by @DansFish. Yes, thank you so much, Pam. And Pam, are you going next? If so, I want to send folks your way. Let us know. But if you're not and you're just going Saturday, let us know that too, so we know what's going on. All things fish. Demand drives a lot of your fish selection, but are there many fish that you will not bring in and offer to whoever? Yeah. Regardless of the demand. Yeah, things like standard plecos, clown knives, red-tailed catfish, arapaima, alligator gar. yeah, it kind of horrifies me when I go over the list and I see like alligator gar for, you know, in the single digits. It's like, really? That's a horrible situation. Paku. So there's a lot of fish that I won't bring in. And it's not because... Now, if someone wanted... and most of the ones I'm talking about are large fish, right? And it's not necessarily because they're large. If someone wanted me to source a large fish for them, and they were like, been dreaming of this fish, and they had the ideal setup for it, and they knew all about it, I would order it for them. But there's a lot of species like the ones I mentioned where there's no need to. There's so many saturated in the hobby. There's so many that if we had, you know, pounds or for fish, like the city pound, if they could take fish, they would be inundated with common plecos and pakus and iridescent sharks and all these other species. So there's a lot of species I won't bring in, but it's usually because there's so many of them out there that already need good homes that there's just no reason to bring more in. So, Skipper's Aquariums at Yoda Kraken. You have to type out Dan's fish so he sees it. Indeed. We've got 4 more minutes. And there's other fish, I guess, back to All Things Fish question, that I won't bring in just because I don't think I can do a good job with them. For some reason, ever since I moved here to this to Wyoming, I cannot keep clown killifish alive. I don't know why. I've kept and bred many of them over the years before I moved to Wyoming. But here in Wyoming, there's something about my setup or about the sources I can get them from now that I just don't have success. So that's a fish I won't bring in for someone just because I'm sure that if I did, most of them would end up dead, and that's just not fair to the fish. So I guess that's the other scenario where I would just say, look, I can't bring that in for you because it's not fair to the fish. Kevin Leong, 3-tier 40-gallon tank rack suggestions. Yes, I've got a video on it. Check it out. It's on the channel, and go into detail. I think it's called How to Build Racks or something like that. Ted Judy has a great video on it as well. Check him out, Ted's Fish Room. And Wild Fish Tanks is currently building a bunch of racks for his fish cave. So might be checking out what he does as well. So those are 3 channels on YouTube where you can get some good information for that. Fish Tank Barn. Hey, Mike, I hope you're doing well. Are you still keeping fish in your house once the warehouse is up and running? Not really. I mean, I might keep like a couple big tanks like this just to have a nice display tank or something like that. But, I mean, every waking moment is going to be getting this thing up and running. It's a massive task. Moving into that warehouse and getting it going. So I'm not going to have time for any extracurriculars. My hope is, though, that given time, I will be able to get some breeding racks set up. It won't be at first. You know, we'll have to get everything established and going smoothly and stuff like that. But I don't know when it will happen. But my hope is that one day I can just set up some breeding racks and just breed fish for fun and make videos and take everyone through the process in the videos and do detailed videos from selecting the pair on through the whole process until the young fish are growing up. Not just that little blip you often see of, look, they're laying eggs, which is fun, but doesn't tell you the whole story of how to raise or how they reproduce and things like that. So that's what I like to do, but it's going to be a little while. My hands will be full. What do I have? 2 minutes. Danny Weshi. I had 2 of my African peacock fry have a food seizure like that rainbow. It only happened once. It didn't last long, but it was strange. Oh man, yeah. It's still a mystery to me why that happened. I'm glad it only happened once. I hope it doesn't keep happening. It's kind of heartbreaking when that happens. The good news is I found that rainbow a good home with Kayla's Aquatics, and Kayla's Aquatics is having much better luck with it than I am. Hasn't had seizure activity in quite a while, so hopefully it continues to thrive. And he named it Dan, so don't kill Dan. I want to live. I think we have room for one more. Got 1 minute. Jerry Serple Morris, thanks. I also escaped my 60-gallon and removed all the fish. Now there's a tiny eyelash-shaped white organism floating in the water column. Never seen them before. Do you know what they are? No, it could be. There's so many little things that when the fish are gone and stop eating them, then they kind of multiply and you start seeing them for the first time. There's a lot of things that could be. So I couldn't identify that by that description. Okay, we are at 8:30, so we've got to cut it off. It's time. Thanks for being here, everybody. I appreciate you. My mods, thanks for doing this. Everyone that had a super chat to leave, thanks for leaving it. I appreciate it. Never required, but it does help. Where am I at? Oh yeah, if you left a question or comment, thanks for making this lively. Hail the Lurker Nation. I'm with you. And everyone watching on the replay, I hope you can make it live someday, but until that time, that's what replays are for. All right, everybody, I hope you have a good one. I'll see you next time, same bat channel, which is 9 p.m. Eastern on Wednesdays, for those that don't know. Till then, have